talk about familiars for a second and so many of my questions about them? Familiars are something that I've kind of like played with and bounced with and like seen in popular culture in general, especially when it comes to like witchcraft and like people talking about this type of thing. And so there's so many different questions that I have, and also questions of, is my black cat my familiar in a sense? One, like the idea of a familiar, which we're just gonna go straight to Google because it makes life easier. So if you just look up is like the definition of familiar, like not as like a noun, but another word, it says a well-known form, long or close association. Their faces will be familiar to you. It's almost just like a recognition of something, right? Or being on familiar terms with somebody it's a closeness. It's almost like a deep connection in a sense. So it makes sense, a deep connection with an animal. As a noun, it's a demon supposedly attending and obeying a witch, often said to assume the form of an animal. Hence, black cat, owl type of deal. In the Roman Catholic Church, a person rendering certain services in a pope's or bishop's household. Interesting, I didn't know of that connotation at all. A close friend or associate could also be known as a familiar. So the idea of a demon or a spirit being a familiar is interesting. And when I think of like our current 3D reality and that type of deal, like you, in the most recent pop culture reference of it, I would think of like, what was it, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch had a whole thing of her finding Salem. It was like this rogue demon. He wasn't properly trained and he just came up to her and he was like a cute little kitty. Or it could be the creepy thing with the long claws, like very... That is an interesting concept. The idea of a spirit coming to you and being under your direct orders, of a sense, right? Being a very much of a servant, a servitor of a certain sense. And being under that obeying, so like, I'm going to protect you, I'm going to look after you, and I'm going to listen to everything you say. I will not cause any detriment to you. This is not a equal relationship. It's a very much a higher, like, I am higher than you. But then when we think of like actual animals in our lives and things that come and that are close to you, it feels a little bit different for me. Like, it's funny how I had a very close relationship. We've always had like multiple animals in my family growing up, and I had a black dog who was named Izzy, and she was so much like me in so many ways. She would always liked her isolation in a sense. She was definitely a dog that would like, wouldn't hang around everybody. Like, she kind of like go lay off in her corner, and when she wanted to play with you or bother you, then she'd like come get your attention. She was very much in love with winter and the cold, loved running around the snow, and she would come yell at me to come play outside with her, and so I could throw snowballs at her and stuff. And there was a lot of similarities in our personalities that even my mom picked up on quite a lot. And it's also the same thing with now my cat Boo, my little black cat. Amore, my other floofy cat, was actually more my sister's. We got them together when we were still living with our parents back in high school, so they're getting up there in age now. But Boo was always my cat. Even there have been times where I haven't lived with her because I went away to college, or it didn't matter. I was always her #1 person to go back to, which is interesting. She's also, physical animal-wise in my house, the one who's most interested in my altar and the things I do when I'm doing witchcraft. I have noticed when I start to do energy and move things around, even during in doing stuff without tools, she always seems to magically appear. She's like, what are you doing? I sense you doing something weird. She's also the one to want to climb onto my altar, and I don't let her up there because of the herbs, and I'm worried of her like eating things, right? But she likes to sit underneath it, or she will sit on the chair that's by it a lot of times, or she will like become interested in the things on it. But she loves to like knock stuff off of tables, as a lot of cats do, but she never knocks anything off of my altar, which I find interesting. There's a bunch of little bottles of things, right? Or like crystals that she would normally, if this was anywhere else, she would be like, bam, like within 2 seconds flat. But she doesn't. It's almost like a weird respect she has of my altar space, which I find interesting. And so it's a concept, and like I've tagged her in photos on Instagram before. It's like, haha, my familiar. But I never really looked into the history of the term so much. And so I do wonder a bit, is she my familiar? Did she come to kind of bond with me? And is she something that's a little extra special in a way, right? She's also the cat that sleeps, like wants to sleep with me, like gets very angry if she doesn't. And she's also, it's interesting how if I have a nightmare or something, she'll almost wake up at the same time I will and like meow like she's panicked in a sense. Like she'll get very like desperate, and like I can almost hear it in how she meows. Like she's very vocal, and she's almost like mimicked how we talk to each other. And so like if I'm doing something she doesn't like, she sasses me. She's very like, meh. And other times she'll be like, mom, and like I can hear when she gets like almost like a panicky meow, and like she'll like run to me, and like I'll feel like nervous from a nightmare or something, and she'll appear and like want to claw at my door, or if she's not already in my room, and then she'll run and like want to like snuggle right next to me in the bed. She does like when I'm doing a lot of work and stuff, just like quietly, and she'll come and just like sit next to me and purr a lot. Doesn't need extra attention or anything, just wants to be near me. But it's funny how drawn she is when I'm doing a magical working. If I'm around her, if she can get to me at all, like she suddenly appears and is like interested in what I'm doing. Like she can like pick up on it, where none of the other animals that we have in the house do that. And we've got 2 other dogs, and then my white cat Amore, who is very like, does 2 shits given. Like she loves to cuddle, loves to snuggle, is very interested in some things that I'm doing, but when it comes to magic, she's got no interest. Where Boo Boo always just appears and does stuff and is like, what are you doing? What's going on? You're doing something weird with the energies in the room. I can feel it. And so that's why I wonder a lot of times, is she my familiar? Or does the familiar have to be something that is outside of us? Is it a spirit or a demon or a different type of entity that comes to certain witches and does, you know, appear in any sort of animal shape or form? You know, the idea of certain crows, that type of deal. Is this where we get the idea of certain pets have come from, or not really? Is they 2 very separate things, the pets that we have and the familiars that we could take on? Is it closer to like an animal guardian or a spirit animal type of concept? Is that more of what a familiar is? All of that down below, your opinions, the findings you've done, if you've done more historical stuff. I think I want to dive more into the history of familiars. Is it something specifically that the Catholic Church or any church has put on to witches as the idea of like a demon helping them, and it's like they're givens of something by the devil himself? Like, is that something that was put on? Or is it more derived from multiple sources of like animal guardians and that of multiple different pagan religions that had kind of got adapted into this word of familiar type of deal? Anyway, what are your thoughts on familiars? Do they link up with our pets? Do you think that one of your pets for sure is a familiar of yours? Or are you much more of a, no, they're more ethereal, more of an outside thing, that's what a familiar actually is? Comments all that down below. If you've got links, they might not show up right away because I think I have to approve links under YouTube, but comment and put links down below. I'd love to do a little more research on this type of stuff. And anyway, I make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and podcasts go up every Wednesday for my lovely podcast, Coffee and Cauldrons, and I will see you guys next time.